Class, is my voice audible now?
Yes, no.
Yes, no. Okay. So we saw what this art and craft were like totally based on, and right at this moment we had an architect named William Morris. If you see here, we had an architect named William Morris. He had a golden rule. Okay, he says if you want a golden rule that will fit everything, that is, have nothing in your house that you don't know to be useful or believe. Sorry guys, I just have this disturbance. So yeah, we're getting back. I'm sorry. So we had an architect called William Morris. So he had a rule called have nothing in your house that you do not know to be useful or believe to be beautiful. Can someone tell me what is the line based on? Have nothing in your house. Have nothing in your house that you do not know to be useful or believe to be beautiful. I'll repeat, have nothing in your house that you do not know to be useful or believe to be beautiful. Definitely, everyone would have experienced this in your current scenario. Explain. It might be with no very silly reasons also. It's okay.
இருக்கிறத அழகாக்கணும் அப்படி
No?
லைக் வீட்ல இருக்கிறத வந்து பியூட்டிஃபுல்லா ஆக்கணும்னா
Can you repeat? Sorry, I had a disturbance here.
வீட்ல இருக்கிறத வந்து அழகாக்கணும்னு அப்படிதான் சொன்னாங்களா?
அப்படியா? அப்படியே படிச்சு பாருங்க அந்த லைன். Have nothing in your house that you do not know to be useful or believe it to be beautiful.
இருக்கிறது வந்து யூஸ்ஃபுல்லா
Someone else? Janet, keep trying. Someone else? Srishesh, Sriram, keep trying. Fast guys is lot. I have to complete. Hey, Englishலாம் படிக்க தெரியும்ல எல்லாருக்கும்? Have nothing in your house, okay? That you do not know to be useful or believe it to be beautiful. What does it mean? Sharon Rose, explain.
மேம் ஜெயந்த்
யாரு?
மேம் ஜெயந்த் மேம்.
சொல்லுங்க ஜெயந்த்.
மேம் நம்ம வீட்டில் இப்போ ஒரு பொருள் இருக்கும் மேம், ஒரு திங்ஸ் இருக்கும் மேம். அந்த திங்ஸ் வந்து நம்ம கண்ணுக்கு வந்து தெரியாது மேம்.
கண்ணுக்கு தெரியாதா?
ஆமா மேம், இருக்கும். ஆனா இல்ல இருக்கிறத இருந்துட்டே நம்ம வெளியே
மேம்
போயிட்டு
யூஸ்ஃபுல்லா வந்து நம்ம நினைச்சிருக்க மாட்டோம், ஆனா யூஸ்ஃபுல் மேம். அப்படியா?
கிட்ட வந்துட்டீங்க. Who is this?
Sharon ma'am. Maybe photos, memories like that, something.
Illa. Okay, let me see. They're saying, yes. Who's that?
வீட்ல வந்து எந்த பொருளும் இல்லனாலும் அழகா இருக்கு அப்படின்னு சொல்ல வராங்க.
இது யாரு? ஸ்ரீசேஷா?
ஆமா மேம்.
இது யாரு?
பிரதி மேம், வீட்டுல எவ்வளவு பொருள் இருந்தாலும் ஒரு பொருள் எடுத்துட்டு வந்து வீட்டுல வச்சு அது யூஸ்ஃபுல், நம்மளுக்கு லைஃப்ல யூஸ்ஃபுல்லா இருக்கா இல்லையான்னு கூட சும்மா ஷோகேஸ்ல வைக்கிற மாதிரி.
You're nearly 99% you're near. What they're saying here is, thank you for responding. What they're saying is, உங்க வீட்ல ஒரு சில பொருள் வந்து இருக்கும், சரியா? இருந்துட்டுதான் இருக்கும். அதை நீங்க யோசிச்சு பாத்தீங்கன்னா இந்த பொருள் ஏன் இந்த வீட்டுல இருக்குன்னே நீங்க யோசிப்பீங்க. அது வந்து யூஸ்ஃபுல்லா இருக்கிற மாதிரியே இருக்கும், ஆனா எதுக்குமே பிரயோஜனப்பட்டிருக்காது. அது ஒரே இடத்துல தான் இருக்கும். அந்த மாதிரி பொருளை வீட்டுல வச்சுக்காதீங்க. ஒரு இடத்துல வந்து இது நல்லாதான் இருக்கு அப்படின்னு நினைச்சிருப்பீங்க, ஆனா யாருமே அது நல்லா இருக்காது. அது வந்து ஏதோ ஒரு ப்ராடக்ட் நல்லாதான் இருக்குன்னு வச்சுட்டு அந்த மாதிரி எல்லாம் எதுவுமே இருக்காதுங்க. அதுதான் சொல்றாங்க. Have nothing in your house. Don't have anything in your house which is not useful, or which you believe it to be useful, or believe it to be beautiful. Do you understand?
Ma'am, can you explain in English, ma'am?
Have nothing in your house, as in don't. If you okay, Valluri, for example,
I'm Durga, ma'am.
Durga, please tell your name, ma. Okay, so what happens is in your house for some time, if you look around your house in any product or any kind of a thing, maybe your mother would have brought it, your dad, or it would have been there for years, but you might wonder what that product been doing in your house for such a long time. I'm talking about only the living things, okay? Not, I mean, talking about the non-living things, okay?
Okay.
Okay, so if you think of any product, just look around wherever you're sitting. Just look around to left and right and all around. You might wonder why this product has been there in your house for such a long time. So if you ask your parents, your mother or grandmother, someone might say, "Oh, it might be useful one day. It might be useful one day, but it might not be useful any day." Have you
Okay,
experienced
I
that?
understood, ma'am.
Okay, it might not be useful for any day, but people like us will be saying, use album, it will be useful. Let's keep. And there's another option, people will say, or you might also feel in your room, like, oh, this product is so beautiful, let me keep it. But if you ask anybody, they're like, why are you keeping this no rubbish over here? Throw it in the dustbin. Like, you would have
Yes, ma'am.
experienced this in your college time also. You'll be like, this is beautiful. I myself experienced, like whenever I take one cute model from your student side, I'll like, let me keep it on my table. And some faculty will be like, why do you have to keep this? This is so rubbish. Throw it in the dustbin. Okay, they won't know. So it might be beautiful to me, but not be beautiful to somebody else. All right.
Yes, ma'am.
So this is what the William Morris were trying to say. Okay, this was his golden rule. So let's go into critics. So we'll see how this during this art and craft movement, it was critics. Okay, who were the two architects who were like criticizing, and what were the points from them, and how it was like not influencing, they were not influencing any industrial revolutions, but still what they were trying to say, and how they were improving the art and craft movement. Okay, we're going to see how they were improving the art and craft movement. So here we have critics such as writer John Ruskin. Just write it, John Ruskin, and architect Augustus Welby Northmore Pugin. He has such a beautiful name. You can write A.W.N. Pugin. So just remember Ruskin and Pugin. So for the other slides, we're going to see about like 20 slides. We are in the third or something. I'll just go pretty fast. So if you see here, Ruskin and Pugin, we'll be seeing the works of them. Okay, we'll see about what work that Ruskin did and what work Pugin did for this class. Okay, for this week. Can I have you written the name? Can I go to the next point? So they say the critics, such as the writer John Ruskin and architect Augustus Welby Northmore Pugin, railed against three problems of industrialization. Railed against this means they were like they were focusing on the problems. They were focusing upon the problems which was happening. Like all this time I was telling you, there were like a lot of problems based on this industrial revolutions. So they were like railing, they're like going upon these issues. So we'll see how they focus and what kind of examples they were showcasing it. Okay, so the next point what they're saying is they contrasted. Can someone tell me what is contrasted? Now we are going to see about John Ruskin and architect Pugin. Okay, these two architects. So the next point says they contrasted. Can someone tell what is contrasted or and its vices?
They had a different opinion.
Pakka. It's Abhinav, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Different opinion. And vices? What is the meaning of vices?
Arts, ma'am.
No. Vices. It's is nothing but industrializations, okay? It's okay. Let me continue.
I
So,
think wicked behavior or something, right?
who's that?
Harita.
Charita, Google. Huh?
Yes, ma'am. I just said wicked behavior.
Yeah, exactly. Just 1 minute. Just 1 minute. Sorry, there's noise from my side. 1 minute. My nephew is going crazy.
It's okay, ma'am.
Andrew, can you close the door? Thank you. Yeah, thank you so much, guys. I know this is kind of a disturbing thing. My nephew, I don't know, he started screaming. I'll start presenting now. So, is my voice audible and my screen shared?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, thank you. So, we were seeing about John Ruskin and the architect Pugin, right? So they were like, I told you, they were like totally against industrializations, and they were focusing on about all the problems we were discussing a few minutes ago. So they contrasted its vices, as in like how they were against. Okay, how did they take a step? Contrasted its vices is nothing but contrasted. We saw Avina said they showed differences. Okay, when you say you have a black and you have a white, and it's a major difference, right? It is like we are showing a red and a mild pink or something, you say. So when you add white, it is pink. Okay. So when you add white tone to it, then it's a pink. So it is a mild difference. But here, contrasted in sense, black and white is totally different. So likewise, he differentiated these two people. They showed a striking difference. Okay, that's what different difference from its wickedness. Like Sharita said, wickedness of industrialization's revolution. Okay, industries வந்து பெருக வரும்போது what is the difference, எவ்வளவு பெரிய difference இருக்கு அப்படின்றது with they combined it, they showed an example with Gothic era before Renaissance. ஸோ ரெனைசன்ஸ் ஏஜ் வரதுக்கு முன்னாடி காத்திக் எரா எப்படி இருந்தது, காத்திக் ஆர்கிடெக்சர், ரிமெம்பர் அபவுட் திஸ் கேத்தட்ரல்ஸ். ஓகே, கேத்தட்ரல்ஸ்குள்ள போனா எப்படி ஆர்ச்சஸ்லாம் இருக்கும், பாயிண்டட் ஆர்ச்சஸ், வெளியே பாயிண்டட் ஆர்ச்சஸா இருக்கும், உள்ள எப்படி ஆர்ச்சஸ் நிறைய இருக்கும், எப்படி ஐல்ஸ்லாம் இருக்கும். ஸோ தீஸ் ஆர் தி காத்திக். ஓகே, ரெனைசன்ஸ்க்கு வரதுக்கு முன்னாடி, ரெனைசன்ஸ்க்கு அப்புறம் தான் ஆல் தீஸ் திங்ஸ் ஆர் ஹேப்பனிங். ஸோ காத்திக் ஏரா இதுக்கு முன்னாடி எப்படி இருந்தது, அதுக்கப்புறம் எப்படி இருந்தது அப்படின்னு சொல்லி they were showing the major differences. That's it, contrasting differences they were showing. Okay, now they had a green environment and all, so they were like very keen about it. So Ruskin and Pugin, I told you, John Ruskin, we are going to mention him as a Ruskin, and architect Augustus, we are going to mention him as Pugin. Okay, AWN Pugin. Okay, Ruskin and Pugin, they had a strong bond for three reasons. The first one is morality of the nation, which is they wanted to focus on what is right and what is wrong about which is suiting for the nation. Okay, just like that, they don't want to focus about the industrial revolution. First, they were focusing about what is needed to be fixed in this nation and what is need not to be. And second is the form of its architecture. What kind of a form are we focusing on? And the third one is like you can see these lines. And the Gothic for them symbolized the peak of the human development. How this Gothic era was showing the human development, how it was like very much attached before this industrial revolution, how it got devastated after the industrial revolution. So these are the three important things. The first thing is the morality of the nation, its architecture, and the human development. So these three things were very much strongly bonded together. And art and craft movement, they had a great exhibition in 1851. So if you say they had a spark for an exhibition, that is Art and Craft Movement was a great exhibition of 1851. It was a great exhibition. It was like a great exhibition. Okay, so in 1851, please note it down. And the first World's Fair held in London. So it was happening in London, and we'll see what happened there. So Ruskin. So we'll focus about Ruskin now. So Ruskin, he was like he's a commentary of William Morris. So we already saw William Morris, right? So if you see here, young and well-heeled devotee of Ruskin's commentary was William Morris. Sorry, I confused. Young and well-heeled devotee of Ruskin's commentary was William Morris. Can someone explain this point? An apprentice to Gothic Revival architect George Edmund Street. Can someone explain the first point?
அப்ரெண்டிஸ்னா வந்துட்டு சம்பளம் இல்லாம ஒர்க் பண்றது.
அப்ரெண்டிஸ்னா இப்போ ஜனத் ஃபாத்திமா இஸ் an apprentice of mine னா வந்து you are some learner of mine. Okay, நான் அப்ரெண்டிஸ்ல வந்து I am having apprentice, ஜனத் ஃபாத்திமா is my apprentice னா you are learning something from me. Okay, something like this. Whatever you told is right. நம்ம டெக்னிக்கலா பேசணும்னா இப்படி learning from something like that.
ஓகே.
Young and well-heeled devotee of Ruskin's commentary was William Morris. Explain this first point. A young and well-heeled devotee of Ruskin's. Yes, who is this?
அபினவ் மேம்.
Yes, Abhinav.
மேம் அவங்க ஐடியாஸை ஃபாலோ பண்ற மாதிரி
கமெண்ட்ரினா என்ன Abhinav?
கமெண்ட்ரினா லைக் சொல்லறது, லைக் நடக்கிறத சொல்லறது.
Yes, exactly. அப்ப ரஸ்கின்ஸோட கமெண்ட்ரி யாரு? வில்லியம் மோரிஸ். சோ ரஸ்கின்ஸ் என்னெல்லாம் ஒர்க் பண்றாரோ அதை நல்லா வந்து வெளியே சொல்லி அவர் பண்ணாரு அது பண்ணாருன்னு சொல்லிட்டு வெளியே சொல்றது யாரு? வில்லியம் மோரிஸ். புரிஞ்சுதா? ரஸ்கினோட ஒர்க்ஸ வந்து வெளியே சொல்றது வந்து வில்லியம் மோரிஸ். யார்கிட்ட வந்து கத்துக்கிட்டாரு? யார்கிட்ட வந்து அவங்களோட எஜுகேஷன் இம்ப்ரூவ் பண்ணாரு அப்படின்னா ஜார்ஜ் எட்மண்ட் ஸ்ட்ரீட் அப்படின்னு ஒருத்தர் கிட்ட இம்ப்ரூவ் பண்ணிட்டாரு. அதாவது அப்ரெண்டிஸ் டு தி Gothic Revival architect. He is a Gothic Revival architect. Gothic Revivalனா Gothic ஸ்டைல வந்து திருப்பி புதுப்பிக்கிறது தான் Gothic Revival architect. ஓகேவா? ஸோ அந்த he was based on நம்ம சொல்லுவோம்ல என்ன மாதிரி ஆர்கிடெக்ட் இவங்க கண்டெம்பரரி ஆர்கிடெக்ட் ஸ்டைல்ஸ், இவங்க வந்து வெர்னாகுலர் ஸ்டைல் ஃபாலோ பண்ற ஆர்கிடெக்ட் அந்த மாதிரி சொல்லுவோம் இல்லையா. லைக்வைஸ் திஸ் ஆர்கிடெக்ட் இஸ் அ லைக் ஃபோக்கஸிங் ஆன் காத்திக் ரிவைவல். அந்த மாதிரி ஒரு ஆர்கிடெக்ட் கிட்ட வேலை செஞ்சவர் தான் வில்லியம் மோரிஸ். He was a commentary of Ruskin's work. Class, did you understand this first point? See, there's a reason why I'm asking you to read these lines and understand, because now one point I'm going to explain it each line by line, but when you're learning for your exam it might be difficult for you to understand. You might like inna oru line ivlo artham varudhu, okay va. A young and well-heeled devotee of Ruskin's commentary was William Morris. Ruskin's oda work la veliye solli puriya vechadu yaruna vandu William Morris. And William Morris vandu he was learning from an Gothic Revival architect George Edmund Street. Is the first point clear? Class, did you understand?
Ma'am, ஒரு டவுட் மேம்.
எஸ் மேம்.
ரஸ்கின் லைக் வில்லியம் மோரிஸ் வந்துட்டு ரஸ்கினோட வேர்ட்ஸ் எல்லாம் வந்து கமெண்ட்ரி பண்ணாங்களா மேம்? அதுவும் அவங்க ஜார்ஜ் எட்மண்ட் ஸ்ட்ரீட் கிட்ட படிச்சதும் அட் சேம் டைமா?
I'll give you another example. Janat Fatima studied in NJR University, but she got trained with Franco Gehry. She was an apprentice of Franco Gehry. Who's your favorite architect?
Zahari.
Okay. Janat Fatima was asking doubt on history. Okay, no, Janat Fatima was explaining history of architecture 5 to her friends. Okay. புரிஞ்சுதா? அந்த history of 5 யார் சொல்லி கொடுத்தா?
சோனா மேம்.
ஓகே, அது வந்து நீங்க உங்க ஃப்ரெண்ட்ஸுக்கு கமெண்ட் பண்ணிட்டு இருக்கீங்க இதுதான் நடந்ததுன்னு. ஆனா நீங்க யார்கிட்ட ட்ரைனிங் எடுத்துட்டீங்க?
சோனா மேம்.
ஏய்,
இதுல சொல்றீங்களா? வந்து ஜார்ஜ்
உன்னோட ஃபேவரட் ஆர்கிடெக்ட் என்ன?
ஜஹாரி.
Zaha Hadid. புரியுதா? See, you got trained with Zaha Hadid, but okay, you got. இப்போ நான் வந்து கேக்குறேன், you are an architect, Janat. Forget everything. You are an architect, okay? You are an architect who is getting trained, who is an apprentice to Zaha Hadid. Okay, va? You understood? See,
Yes,
everyone listen. Architect Janat Fatima is doing an internship with Zaha Hadid office, but she was she was commenting about H4A 5. புரிஞ்சுதா?
புரிஞ்சுது.
William Morris was commenting about Ruskin's work. William Morris was telling about Ruskin's work. ஆனா வில்லியம் மாரிஸ் யாருன்னா ஜார்ஜ் எட்மண்ட் ஸ்ட்ரீட்டோட இன்டர்ன். Understood?
Okay, ma'am. Okay.
So Morris also moved in the same circle. Like what they're saying is, so what happened here is, so we are focusing on William Morris now. So he had these three people, Edward Painter and an artist, and and they had three people who were like very much fascinated about the medieval art and nature. So William Morris, he was getting along with these people, and in 1861, just write it, in 1861, Morris founded, he started one, just write in heading Morris, okay? So heading William Morris was commentary to Ruskin's work, and he was an apprentice for George Edmund Street, who is a Gothic Revival architect. Second point, and these three names, if you see here, these artists, they were focusing on medieval art and nature. He was getting along with them, and meantime, in 1861, he started an office called Morris Marshall Faulkner and Co., along with the other people who were specialized on wallpaper designs featuring the national imaginary and natural images. So they were creating the company who were like focusing over the wallpaper designs. In 1859, Morris commissioned Webb to design. Commissioned Webb means is in person. Okay, he's an architect. So he went to Webb to design a house for his family in London. Okay, Morris என்ன பண்ணாரு 1859 he went to an architect who named as Webb to design his house for his family in London. And the house ஓட name என்ன இருந்துச்சுன்னா Red House due to the deep color of its brick. We'll see why it is a red house and why it is being specific over here. So what is the first point? First point of William Morris is he was a commentary of Ruskin's work, but he was actually a apprentice of George Edmund Street, who was a Gothic Revival architect. He was getting along with the other artists, and in 1861 he started an office called Morris, Marshall, Falker and Co. with three artists and others who were featuring only the natural images of wallpapers. Wallpapers start to create பண்ணாங்க. And in 1859, sorry, actually this 1859 is vice versa. So in 1859, he went to an architect called Webb, W-E-W-B, architect, to design a house in London, which was named as a red house because the house was looking in that color. We'll see why. Is it clear? Ashir, lock the door. Guys, is this slide clear? Guys, did you understand?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
So this is that red house. I have just skipped two slides. I'll just come back to these two slides. I just wanted to show you the image. So let's see why this red house. So if you see here, the steep roof is here and L-shaped asymmetrical plan. If you this house is actually a L-shaped. If you look at the top, it is not a symmetrical one; it is an asymmetrical one. And if you can see the overhanging eaves. These are nothing but these are the overhanging things. Okay, if you see these things, these are the overhang. Can you see my arrow mark? Arrow mark. Can you see
Yes,
my
ma'am.
arrow mark?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
This is like overhanging eaves. This is eaves. Okay, this is extended out. These are called eaves, and this is overhanging eaves. If you see here, and all. If you have a clear image later in your Google search, you can search and see. So these are the overhanging eaves. The first point is a steep roof, L-shaped asymmetrical plan, overhanging eaves, which is like, can you see the Gothic style kind of a thing? Arches and pointed ones. So, and then the bricks. Can you see the bricks? A simple and pedestrian touch. Pedestrian touch is nice. We'll see all this on the floors only. So they feel this kind of a pedestrian touch, they say. So these are the features of this red house. Art and craft of the building. So they have this defensive wall for industrial revolution. So you can say how this was going through art and craft movement. So art and craft movement in the building என்ன சொல்றாங்கன்னா, it was a defensive wall. Rather, they constructed this and they created a defensive for industrial revolution. See, showing look how religious is it? Look at the structure. I know we are not used any kind of an industrial products, but still look at this. So that is what they meant. It stood as a defensive wall for this industrial revolution, and we'll see how well it's been focused on. So this is one question I'll be asking you for your assignment. So Red House. So Red House, it is built in the year 1859 to 60. Okay, 1859 to 60 by artist Philip Webb. I told you, no, is an artist Philip Webb and William Morris. Commissioned means he got along with it. Okay, artist Philip Webb and William Morris. So this red house is located in London as a first arts and craft building. I'll repeat. A first art and craft building. The next point is, second point is, it was near to the London. So I told you it is located in the London. Ana pathina, it is located near to the center of the London. Okay, but in the countryside. Okay, that is how it is situated. It is located. So second point will be it is near to the central London, but it is on the countryside. And third point is I told you it is a asymmetrical plan, tiled roof and brick construction. Asymmetrical plan, tiled roof and brick construction. Fourth point is devoid of ornaments. And so anyone tell me what does devoid mean?
மேம் தேர்ட் பாயிண்ட்ல இருந்து திருப்பி சொல்றீங்க.
First point is it is a first building for art and craft building, right? Second point, it was located in the center of London. Londonல centerல இருக்கும், but in the countryside. Third point, it is asymmetrical, tiled roof, right? So if you see here, this is asymmetrical L-shaped plan, tiled roof, and brick construction. They constructed this because they wanted to show that Industrial Revolution doesn't make any sense for them. Okay, remember that. You might wonder, Industrial Revolution period la indha mari oru structure lepirukanga na why? Because they were totally against Industrial Revolution. And the next point, devoid of ornaments. I'll just go to the slide so it will be easy for you to write. Yeah, largely devoid of ornaments. Can someone tell me what is devoid? Void na enna? Void na enna? Devoid na enna?
Ma'am, void is something in proper shape, I guess.
Void. Oh, we
Empty
have this
space,
Voidனா
ma'am.
வந்து கேப்
Empty
மேம்.
space.
In cube and stuff. Yeah, it's a gap.
Yes. Devoid means?
கேப் இல்லாம.
So ஆனா இங்க என்ன சொல்றாங்க அந்த சென்டென்ஸ் பாருங்க, devoid of ornament அப்படின்னா ஒரு ஸ்ட்ரக்சர்ல ornament அப்படின்னு மீன் பண்ண என்ன அர்த்தம்?
மேம் ஃபுல்லாவே ஆர்னமெண்ட்ஸால டெக்கரேட் பண்ணிருக்காங்க.
Devoidனா இல்ல, ஓகேவா? இல்ல.
Okay.
Devoid. So they are free from ornaments. Can you see, if you see the images, they don't have any ornaments. Do you see any kind of ornaments here? Inga decorations, inga columns, no, right? It's very simple one, simple house. So that's why they say largely devoid of ornaments, speak to the simplicity. So it's very simple building. That is the fourth point, simplicity. So devoid of ornaments. Fifth point, function. So they were like near to the residence. They say it was nearly to the residence, but it had a very rich murals inside it. So that is what they say. If you see here, largely devoid of ornaments, speak to the simplicity that Morris preached, and that Morris preached. So Morris wanted a devoid of ornaments, and its function as a mere residence. Mere means small to something. Okay, mere residence, though the interiors were in place richly decorated with murals by Edward Burne-Jones. So it was like nearly a residence kind of a thing. Residence தான் கட்ட சொன்னாங்க, house for his family in London, but அது வந்து அவ்வளோ நார்மலா ஸ்மால் திங்ஸ் வேர் தேர் as a residence. அந்த பில்டிங் குள்ள போனீங்கன்னா அது இது ரெசிடென்ஸ் தான் அப்படின்னு சொல்லுவீங்க. பட் when you go into the interior, why you can see why do they say it's near to residence? Because the interiors are fully richly decorated with murals. Okay, so going to the sixth point, the house represented a sharp contrast to suburban or country Victorian residence. So இந்த மாதிரி ஒரு பில்டிங் இருக்கு, center of the Londonல இருக்கு. Do you think it will be equal to all other typologies or odd and out இருக்குமா? So how do we say technically? Sharp contrast. We'll say contrast to suburban. அந்த ஊருக்கும் இடத்துக்கும் சம்மந்தமே இல்லாத மாதிரி ஒன்று இருக்கும். Because there's an industrial revolution was happening and there's a lot of different material experiments were going on, and out of the blue you have this kind of a structure. So they have this sharp contrast to suburban or the country residences around it. Okay, and the next point is Morris in nature free from pollution. So that this house, they were like actually free from pollution. They were in the center of the city, but still in the countryside. He felt that it is totally in touch with the nature and away from the pollution. And if you see here, what happened is when this Webb artist, Philip Webb and Morris were designing this place, they had this large servant quarters. Usually, we'll give some small, pretty quarters for the servants, but they had this large, unusually a large servant quarters. This is because as a socialist, I told you, right, social and artistic movement was happening. As a socialist, they don't want to show the variations as a class distinctions. Like they wanted to erase that class variations. Me and the class, na and the class. So you belong to low class and you belong to high class. They don't want that to happen. Even though if it is for large servant, even though it is a servant quarters, they wanted to make it very rich. Okay, so that is an image over here. And what happens is when Morris was living in this house, he need to travel from his house to his working place to and fro, and it took a lot of burden for him. Okay, if you see this line, Morris spent commuting. Commuting means traveling through and fro. Okay, so since it was to prove to be burdensome for his productivity. Productivity is to work. So it was very difficult for him to work. So what happened is from here he sold this house and moved to London. Okay, next to his firm. So that is what this point says. So this point is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Which point is this? Which point are you guys in?
It's located.
Ninth point. So totally 10 points. So ninth point is Morris traveled to his office. Sorry, Morris traveled from office to work, which was burden, and so it got shifted near to his office, was the ninth point. And 10th point is material he uses red brick, wood, and glass. Red brick, wood, and glass. So there are like 10 points in Red House, which was constructed in the year 1859 to 60 by artist Philip Webb and William Morris. I'll just repeat all the 10 points. The first point is it was the first building which was against Industrial Revolution, okay, for art and craft building. It was located near the central London, but in countryside. Third point, it is asymmetrical, L-shaped, asymmetrical, a tile roof and brick construction. Fourth point, they don't have much ornaments. That is devoid of ornaments. It was very a simple building. Fifth point is its function. It was like merely to residence. Like it was like small. It was little related to residence because the interior was very rich with. It was very rich and filled with murals by architect Edward Burne-Jones. If you see here, I can show the name. Edward Burne-Jones. And the sixth point is they had a sharp contrast to suburban. Sharp contrast to suburban. Seventh point is Morris felt it was a free from pollution and it is touched with the nature. And the next point, they had unusual large servant fortresses to erase the class distinctions. Next point, ninth point, Morris had to travel from office to work, which was a burden, so shifted his house near the office. And 10th point, the materials used are red brick, wood, and glass. Is it clear? Yes. Guys, have you written all the 10 points? Because you'll be right. You'll be
Yes, ma'am.
So we were seeing about William Morris, what he was focusing and with whom did he join, and what was his office name, and what did they first started on, on wallpapers and based on natural images. And then how he got connected with Philip Webb, who's an artist, and created a house for him called Red House. And we saw where it is located and what kind of a features does it carry, and how it was a very it stood as a defensive wall for industrial revolution. So, and we saw about the 10 points for Red House. Okay, so now we'll go into the last architect. Yeah, for the day today, we are going to see about architect Ruskin, and then we're going to end up this session. So the next architect we're going to see now is John Ruskin. So John Ruskin, if you see the year, you can see the year and you can write it 1819 to 1900. So here, so you might also get a question from this as an assignment. So we'll see who is he, okay? So John Ruskin, he's an English art critic, okay? English art, yeah, he's a critic for that. So first point is English art critic. You see here, English art critic. He was an art pattern. ஏதாவது art எதாவது create பண்ணாருன்னா he was a pattern வாங்கியிருப்பார். So that's why I say art pattern. He was a draft person, not a draftman. Draftman. Watercolorist. Fifth one is social thinker. Social thinker is obviously because he was one among the social and artistic movement. And then philanthropist. Philanthropist means a person who promote welfare of the others, okay? Who always thinks about the others and thinks about what's good for others, and so as I told you, the welfare of others. So he had a different identification. So let me read out the first point. English art critic, art patron, pattern வாங்கிருப்போம் சொல்லுவோம் இல்லையா, அதான் art pattern, and draftsman, watercolorist, social thinker, philanthropist. 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 Okay, the person who always looks after the welfare of the others. So these are his identification. If you ask who's John Ruskin, these are his identification. And he is also a writer. Okay, so writer இருக்கும்போது என்னெல்லாம் எது பேஸ் பண்ணி எழுதுவார்னா, he writes geology, architecture, he writes about what are the myths, orientology means study of birds, okay, birds apati. So geology, architecture, myth, orientology, literature, education, botany, and political economy. So he was writing about all these things. So he had number of identifications, and he has this kind of history. So let's see what he was doing here in this kind of a movement. So he was this John Ruskin. Okay, I told you John Ruskin and Augustus Pugin are the two people who were like railing against this industrial revolution. So we'll see what this Ruskin had to do. So he was totally focusing. He had an interest on, the first point is he had an interest on Gothic Revival. So can someone tell me what is revival?
அது மறுபடியும் கொண்டு வரதுமா.
Who was this?
That's it.
Good. So Gothic Revival, he had very, very interested. So I also told you guys, the first point is Gothic. So I told you the first thing, அவருக்கு என்னென்ன பேர் இருக்குன்னு இல்லையா, art pattern, draftsman, this thing. The second thing is what and all he wrote. Third one is he is interested in Gothic Revival. And then fourth point is, I told you he is a writer. He writes a lot of books. So he wrote a book. If you see here this image, he wrote this book called The 7 Lamps of Architecture by John Ruskin. Can you see the image? Can you see the image, guys?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes. So this is the 7 Lamp of Architecture. It is 1949. So he wrote this book, And in the book என்ன இருக்கு அப்படின்னா the vital and the inseparable from the all architecture, that is he added number 1 sacrifice, truth, power, beauty, life, memory, obedience. In the ஏழுமே தான் it's very 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 important. He says it's vital and inseparable from all architecture. Yes dear, I'll just show the slide. Can you see the last point? The title refers to the 7 moral categories that Ruskin considered vital to and inseparable from all architecture. Whatever kind of a style you bring, these things are to be very much focused. He says sacrifice, truth, power, beauty, life, memory, and obedience. All these things will be there in any kind of a style if you want to follow any kind of an architecture. So if you take any Gothic style, you will have the sacrifice of taking the. Can someone tell me any one point from these things? You have learned about Gothic style, right? So if you say sacrifice, you have constructed a structure, Gothic structure. So for sacrifice, what do you say?
And for beauty, stained glasses.
Yes, very good. Then power, truth. I need 7 people. One point. Beauty has been told by Janet, Fatima, and then come on guys, let's just have only half an hour more. What about memory? Obedience. Obedience means what? All the lines, curves, and patterns should be what? Properly aligned, right? What about memory? Following the Gothic style. Revival. What about life? How do you create a life in that particular structure? What about the power? How are you going to show your Gothic style? Can you guys understand these 7? So I concluded with Gothic. So John Ruskin says whatever kind of an architecture style you take, these 7 things are very much vital to be followed. Understood? So the first point we said what was this identification, how he's been identified, and the second point we saw about how he what are the books he wrote, what are the subject he was focusing, and what are the things he wrote on. And the third point we saw about what is his interest. So his interest was on developing the interest on Gothic Revival, right? You can see my arrow mark, Gothic Revival. And then his first work, his name is 7 Lamps of Architecture. 7 Lamps of Architecture is his first book, and it has a vital and inseparable from all architectures. Those are sacrifice, truth, power, beauty, life, memory, and obedience. These are the 7 things which was comprised in the 7 Lamps of Architecture. If you see this book, you can understand. To see this image. And the next point, in August 1850. The next point, August 1850. If you see this point, August 1850, Ruskin and Iffy is another person, were at Wenlock Abbey. If you see this image, this is his place. So in August 1850, Ruskin was at Wenlock Abbey. This is one place in London. So he sketched arcading. So he started sketching arcades. Can someone tell me arcading means what? Arcading. If you see arcading, you can see here the spelling ARCADING.
Facades, ma'am. Facades sketch பண்ணோம்.
Yes, you are near to the point where Ruskin sketched some of the arcading in Norman Chapter House. அதாவது இது ஒரு building, okay, ஒரு structure. Norman Chapter Houseல he sketched some arcades. Arcadeனா என்ன? Okay, just see this. If I'm creating this arch, can you see my red color pointer?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes. So this is one arch, okay? So I'm creating another arch. So this is one arch. So I'm creating another one. Can you see the number of arches I'm just playing with? So like this arches. Okay, like a number of arches. So these are called arcades. The series of arches used in construction, or like as I said, facades are used in decorations in any building are called arcading. So is it clear what is arcading? So Ruskin, when he was in Wenlock Abbey, the image, this is when Ruskin and there's another person called Effie, when they were in this place. So this is the chapter house. Can you see here the chapter house image below the Wenlock Abbey image? So what happened? Ruskin, he sketched this arcading, this chapter house. So if you ask me how he sketched, he also wrote a book called Stone of Venus. The next image, can you see the image here? So here, if you see this image, actually you can get to the PDF or just find this book, and you can see what kind of how he played with the arches and all. You can also input this in your research, or you can write a paper on it, or you can get interest from for your designs. So he referred his own book, which is named as the Stones of Venus, and then he created this chapter house. If you see these details, he took from from this book, which is written by his own. Okay, he used in the Stone of Venus. So in most of his John Ruskin's work, you can see most of his works are been taken from his own book. So it's vice versa. So whatever works he's doing, so not vice versa. Before putting into in life, he already had a documentation in all these books, Stones of Venus or the Seven Lamps of Architecture Styles, all these things. So he started implementing in the life structures. So next point is the other. By seeing this Ruskin's work, other architects also started getting ideas. So that's what they say. Ruskin's ideas on the preservation of open areas. Sorry, I just turned to some other. Yeah, architects including Le Corbusier, Louis Sullivan, Frank Fayard, and Walter Gropius incorporated Ruskin's idea in their work. So I think so. You guys will be familiar about these architects' name by right now, right? Le Corbusier, Eiffel Wright, Walter Gropius. At least maybe you might not know about Louis. Walter Gropius, Le Corbusier, Frank Fayard. Is it not? Class? Sriram? Sriram? Tungiacha? Okay, anyone else? Class, can someone tell me, have you learned about these architects? Have you heard about it?
Yes, ma'am.
So all these architects got ideas from Ruskin's work. Okay, so these are the points. So I'll just remind what and all we were saying about John Ruskin. So we saw what are the names he had. Like he's an English art critic, art patron, draftsman, watercolorist, and so and so. And he was focusing his subject on geology, architecture, myth, and many things. And the third thing, we saw that he is interested in Gothic Revival style, and he wrote a book called Seven Lamps of Architecture, where he mentioned the seven things, which is sacrifice, truth, power, beauty, life, memory, and obedience. Okay, these were the things, and it was these things are highly used as it was like a high moral standard for Gothic architecture. Okay, just write that point. It is a high moral standard for Gothic architecture. If you take any Gothic architecture style, these seven things definitely is being followed. Okay, and then in August in 1850, Ruskin and Effie were at Wenlock Abbey. So I've added these images because you should sketch. Ruskin sketched arcading things in for arcading. Arcading is nothing but a series of arches used in construction or in decorative purpose for the building. So these things were so when Ruskin and Effie were at Wenlock Abbey, where at Wenlock Abbey, he sketched a facade or an outer structure for Chapter House in Norman, which was referred from the book Stone of Penance, which is written by him, John Ruskin. So we also saw the architects who got no who incorporated Ruskin's work are Le Corbusier, Louis, Frank Lloyd, and then Walter Gropius. So these are the points we saw about John Ruskin. And the next heading is craft and conservation. Okay, the next last heading, it's the end of the class, craft conservation. Can I go with the craft conservation? The last slide. Class, can I continue with the craft conservation?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
So coming to the craft conservation, we have William Morris and C.R. Ashby. Okay, these are the two architects. Just write it down. C.R. Ashby were keen disciples, and through them, Ruskin's legacy can be traced in art and craft movement. So if you guys can remember, I was discussing with Janet Fatima saying how William Morris was a commentary of Ruskin's work, right? Do you remember?
Yes.
Yes. So William Morris was a commentary of Ruskin works, like as in, if you take Lee Corbusier or anyone who followed Ruskin's work, likewise, William Morris, who was commentary about Ruskin's work, who was following Ruskin's work, okay, who was so if you what they're saying is if you see any works of William Morris or this C.R. Ashby, you can see their works will have the art and craft movement in them because Ruskin and Augustus Pugin are in the same movement, right? Art and craft movementல தான் இருந்தாங்க. ஸோ ஆட்டோமேட்டிக்லி வில்லியம் மோரிஸோட ஒர்க் பார்த்தீங்கன்னா கண்டிப்பா ரஸ்கினோட ஒர்க் மட்டும்தான் இருக்கும். ரஸ்கின் என்னெல்லாம் ஒர்க் இப்படிலாம் வந்து ஃபோக்கஸ் பண்ணாரோ அதே மாதிரி வில்லியம் மோரிஸ் அண்ட் C.R. ஆஷ்பியோட ஒர்க்ஸ்லயும் இருக்கும். I repeat, Ruskin and Augustus Pugin were focusing on the revolt against industrial revolution, right? So they were contrasting the major differences, how it is impacting the civilization and the architecture. So definitely when someone is going to follow any one of these two architects, even their work also will have the same thing. For example, if you're going to copy any plan from Google, the same thing is going to be there. Or for example, if you're going to see only one friend's work, and if you're very much inspired with the wrong work or correct work, the same thing you're going to do it. Just like அடிச்சான் காப்பி அவன் என்ன பண்ணானோ அதுதான் இருக்கும். கரெக்டா? So that's the same thing. So நீ வில்லியம் மோரிஸோட ஒர்க்ஸை பார்த்தீங்கன்னா you can see Ruskin's legacy can be traced in art and craft movement. So this is the first point. The next point is Ruskin's idea. So what were Ruskin's ideas? So Ruskin's idea were, first point, preservation of open spaces. He wants to preserve the open spaces. Second point, conservation of historical buildings. He wants to conserve the historical buildings. Okay, these two, historical buildings and places. These 2 points. Okay, these are the 2 important points. So, and these things were automatically inspired by his friends. Octavia, Hardwick. So these are the people and helped to found National Trust. So these are the these are the ideas of Ruskin, which was very much inspired, or no, they very much got inspired from Ruskin's ideas. So this is the second point. So next point we're going to see is pioneers of town planning. Can someone tell me what is pioneers? Sorry, pioneers. Pioneers of town planning. Pioneers na enna? Come on, last slide. We'll complete it fast. 3:30. That's all. End of this slide. Only 2 slides. Come on. Can someone tell me what is pioneers of town planning?
A new
Pioneers.
method, ma'am.
Hmm?
A new method.
Pioneers na enna?
Exploring.
Professionals.
Hmm. Professionals. Very good. Who said it?
Abu Bakr.
Hmm?
Abu ma'am.
Oh, sorry, what?
Abu
Abu
ma'am,
ma'am.
Abu.
Abu. Okay. I heard it as kabuk kabuk. Okay, fine. Okay, good, Abu. So, professionals of town planning. So, took Ruskin as an inspiration. Okay, even the so first thing is what were the ideas of Ruskin? Preservation of open spaces and conservation of historical buildings were the two ideas of Ruskin, and his work got inspired for his friends. Okay, and his work also inspired the pioneers of town planning. அதாவது professionals, town planning பண்றவங்களோட professionals இருக்காங்க இல்லையா, town planning professionals. So they also took inspiration from Ruskin's work. Okay, so this is the next point. And most pro-life collector of Ruskin. So if you see here, okay, the next last slide. So next point, the previous point which he focused is even the sorry, we saw the two ideas of Ruskin. So can someone tell me what are the two ideas of Ruskin?
Preservation of open space, ma'am. Conservation of historic building.
This is Jayant.
Yes, ma'am.
Very good, Jayant. Okay. Okay. So in the ரெண்டு ஐடியாஸும் who got inspired, his friends got inspired. So அந்த friends inspire ஆன and next யார் inspire ஆனா town planning professionals also they got inspired and they started using their ideas in their writings. So ஏதாவது ஒரு புக் எழுதும் போது town planning பத்தி புக் எழுதும் போது என்ன ஆச்சு, they also took Ruskin's examples also for their writing. And next point what we are going to see here is we have another architect called, the next point is the most prolific collector of Ruskin was, அதாவது என்னன்னா ரொம்ப ப்ரொஃபஷனலா we said like we spoke like William Morris வந்து ரஸ்கினோட ஒர்க்ல வந்து கமெண்ட் கொடுத்துட்டு இருந்தாரு. He was very much a follower and we also saw they were like even his friends were following his work and a lot of people were following. பட் ரொம்ப ப்ரொஃபஷனலா ரொம்ப கலெக்ட் பண்ணி வச்சிருக்கவர் யாரு அப்படின்னா ஜான் ஹார்ட்வர்ட் ஒயிட் ஹவுஸ். ஸோ இவர் என்ன பண்ணாருன்னா ரஸ்கின் வாழ்ந்த வீடு, ஓகே, sorry, I started in Tamil. So there were like a number of people who were following Ruskin's work, but here we have John Howard Whitehouse, who was like very much professional in collecting the details of Ruskin's, and he was very professional in that. So what he did is he went and conserved his Ruskin's home. That is called Brantwood. Brantwood என்றது ரஸ்கினோட வீடு. So Ruskin's house is named as a Brantwood, and he opened it as a Ruskin's memorial. See, he opened it as a Ruskin's memorial. So that was the next point. And inspired by Ruskin's educational ideas, Whitehouse is nothing but this John Howard Whitehouse. Inspired by Ruskin's educational ideas, Whitehouse established Bembridge School on the Isles of Wight. So he also created a school and ran along with Ruskin's line. Abdina, Ruskin's follow பண்ண ஐடியாஸ், அவரோட புக்ல எழுதினது என்னென்ன ஐடியாலஜிஸ், டிசைன் பிலாசபிஸ் எல்லாமே வந்து அந்த ஆர்கிடெக்சர் ஸ்கூல்ல வந்து he started evolving it. So if you see these images, can you see the school? Bembridge School on the Isles of Wight. These are the students. So got this image, and this is the house of Ruskin's. Now, right now, it's a memorial of Ruskin. So the last point, if you see here, Ruskin's drawing collection, a collection of 1,470 works of art, which he gathered as learning aids for Ruskin's School of Drawing and Fine Arts, which he founded at Oxford, is still in possession of the school and now an Ashmolean Museum. So what they're saying is they took his house as a memorial thing, and we had John Howard. Are you writing the points? I hope you're writing a point. The second point is like they John Howard Whitehouse. He took Ruskin's home and he created a memorial for Ruskin, and he also built a Bembridge School, and he was using Ruskin's philosophies. And then his work was like 1470 works of art, and it was now used in a museum. It was founded in Oxford, and it is now possessed in a museum. So that's all for today's class. Do you have any doubts from today's class? So I just rewind. Today we saw about art and craft movement, how that art and craft movement, what were the reason for this art and craft movement, and why they were against this industrial revolution. And then after this industrial revolution, who were the architects who were involved in this industrial revolution, and what kind of an prime identification they created as a defensive wall, like a red brick house they created, and who were the architects involved in it, how that particular architect created his own life progress in this kind of an evolution. And what were the books were revealed out through these two architects. And we were focusing about John Ruskin's work, and how even still now it is being practiced, and how people are still following John Ruskin's work. So these were the things we were seeing today. So guys, do you have any doubts?